Code of Baphomet, Episode 1, Stairway. The city of Belkin fell into its slumber while the night was still. Everything was quiet. In the silence, the stark and uncaring darkness reigned. It covered Belkin like a vast blanket, snuffing out the very essence of life. Still, light found a way. Scattered across the old city, the wonderful invention of humankind, artificial light, illuminated all that was present, even in the darkest corners, orchestrating a symphony of lights in a battle against the mysterious night. In that symphony, though dim and small, was the light from inside Anders' office. He'd been working late for quite a while. A promotion was what he'd been looking forward to, but to be honest, it was the only thing on his mind. For him, work was life, and nothing else mattered. Suddenly, everything turned into complete darkness. Startled, it took him quite a while to realize that a blackout had just occurred, and another few seconds just to turn on the light from his phone. There was nothing he could have done to continue his work. It was time for him to leave. Unfortunately, he was on the 30th floor, and without power, the elevator wouldn't be in service. That meant that the only way out for him was to go down the stairway. Upon entering it, all Ender could see were rows and rows of stairs leading down to what seemed like the abyss. He felt uneasy and he hesitated for a moment, but he descended still. The light from his phone could only do so much, illuminating the spiraling path only inch by inch. The only sound was the echoes of his footsteps pounding lightly on the cold and dirty floor. About 10 minutes later, Ender decided to stop. The condition of his surrounding had caught his attention. Everything felt ancient. The steps on which he stood seemed to be corroded from years, maybe decades of use. So did the steps before and the ones ahead. It didn't make sense. The building he worked at was only built 3 years ago. Even the walls, the railing, they were cracked and bent. Some sections were so bad that the steel core inside was even visible. How could such things happen? At that moment, he wondered, which floor was he anyway? Normally, every floor had its own door leading to the main hall, but for the past 15 minutes or so, he hadn't seen any. This place was strange. Wherever this was, it sure wasn't the building that he worked at. Panicked, Ender tried to make a call, but no one answered. To make things worse, his phone was about to die. But that was when he heard it. The melodious sound of a harp ringing through the dark. A crescendo so loud and beautifully eerie, it almost tore his ears apart. But there was something else. A voice, but not human-like. It was disturbing. It was almost as if something was mimicking human voice, but without a vocal cord. It shrieked and growled and howled in tongues he couldn't understand. And then, getting slightly louder and louder, hooves were pounding on the floor, coming towards him. He ran and ran. but nothing could stop the beast right behind him. Ender was unlucky. A step broke beneath his feet and he fell. His head plummeted against the cold floor. Fainted, he finally did. Upon waking up, Anders sighed as he realized everything had just been a dream. It was possible that while working, he was too tired and fell asleep. Everything was fine. The neon lights on his desk were still shining, illuminating through the window and into the cold night outside. Nonetheless, it was time for him to go home. His shift was over. Quickly, Ender packed his stuffs and left. But just as he closed the office door, his heart sank when in front of him. There it was, under the ceiling lights, was the old stairway spiraling down into the abyss. Meanwhile, the melody of dread continued, with the lights frantically flickering, and then they all vanished.